Good afternoon to members of council and staff that are with us today. I'll call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of council for June the 1st, an emergency electronic meeting of the town of Petawawa. Welcome. Thank you all for attending. This meeting has been called to order, and I'll ask for those in their own way if they would have a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. Go to the agenda. I need approval of the agenda, please. I need a motion, please. First and second. No. Who do I see? Murray, Councillor Roots, and Councillor Sabram. All in favor? It's carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does any member wish to disclose any pecuniary interest on any of the matters before us today? Having seen none, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of council of May the 25th, 2020, they've been circulated. Are there any errors or omissions to the minutes that's been distributed? Seeing one, then I need a motion, please, to accept the minutes. Councillor Carmody, Councillor McLean, all in favor? Then it's carried. No presentations or bylaws, correspondence. Then I'll go to staff reports. The awarding of the tender PW 11-2020, and I'll call on the Director of Public Works, David Unraw, if you would please, to go through this staff report, please.
Okay, Your Worship and member of the council. Public Works 06-2020, which is the reconstruction of Golf Course Road, was advertised in our local papers, advertised on our website. We had 6 firms pick up tender packages. 2 firms submitted a complete tender package on the closing date of May 26th. You see attached the bids that were received, and also attached to the package is the tender report completed by JP2G. So just to review a couple items in that, so the original budget for this project, which was completed in October and November and approved in January, February of this year, was $1.3 million. That was revised by JP2G just before a tender to just over $1.8 million. And that increase in price from 1.3 to 1.8 was to reflect some of the tender results that we received on an earlier project that we received. So the prices had increased. Some of the prices in regards to asphalt and the AC index, lack of competition for asphalt contractors, and some of the pricing for structures and piping. So we went to tender, and the tender results, as you've noticed, are even higher than the revised estimate. So one of the notes I had put on in my report was a report that just came out from the Ontario Construction Secretariats, and they released a coronavirus contractors survey. And one of the things that they did note in it was that they were seeing, on average, the prices for construction projects be increased by 28 to 39%. And this is based on the additional PPE required, the additional production time because of social distancing, and some of the other COVID-related protocols. So I'm continuing to discuss with the Ontario Good Roads about this situation, and you know, they're aware of it and they're addressing it through the contractors. But that certainly doesn't help us with what we have in front of us right now. So the financial implications is that, we have 1.3 in our budget. It is a 50-50 split with our partner, Laurentian Valley. And so the proposal in front of you is to fund the approximately $470,000 from the dollars that weren't spent from Portage Road and Scott Avenue as a result of not proceeding with that project. So that project, if you recall, was tendered earlier on in the year, and it was well over budget. So we decided to postpone that project and possibly look at retendering that in 2021. And so you see a graph or a table of the additional funds that are available as a result of not proceeding with that project in 2021 or 2020. So the recommendation in front of you is to award PWO 6-2020, the reconstruction of Golf Course Road, to H&H Construction Limited or Incorporated in the amount of $2,075,036.75 plus HST. And I'd open up to any questions.
Thank you, David. I'll open up to members of council for any questions of the report. Councillor Carmody. You need to unmute.
Yes, there we go. So the price of asphalt has gone up substantially, and I always thought that asphalt was somewhat tied to the price of oil, and we've had this huge oil price war, and as you know, the price of oil has been quite low, but you're saying the price of asphalt is going through the roof. What's the disconnect there? Why is that?
Yeah, actually, very good good comment. So the AC price is what we follow in regards to asphalt, and so that did increase slightly prior to all this COVID-related issues. And what we're also finding is that there's a lack of contractors. So there used to be a couple more players in the area that did asphalt, and now there's down to 2. So I think it's as, the only thing that I've been talking to the contractors and consultants, and the only thing we can think of is the increase in asphalt prices is as a result of, both the increase in AC, but more so the lack of competition. We only received 2 bids on this project, and I'm not sure what else to come up with any other conclusion.
Further questions? Comments? Councillor Mons. Councillor Mons? You're muted.
There we go.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. The CAO didn't want me to speak, obviously. Anyway, Dave, I know that you've been on, and you just stated that you have been talking with OGRA. I guess the big question is, is there any word out there that we may get some additional funding as a result of the the virus, and can we put this back into the reserves to cover off Portage Road for next year?
Yeah, so I participated in a webinar probably a week and a half ago, and it was OGRA, the Ontario Construction Consortium, the Ottawa Construction, and we talked about different opportunities for basically what they're labeling it as post-COVID, and basically looking at initiatives to stimulate the economy. And so there was some discussions there in regards to some additional funds coming available. So the timing of those funds is unknown, and what mechanism. One of the things that we were telling the host, and they were going to relay to the province, was we would like to see it go through some existing program. So additional funds coming through gas tax, or additional funds coming through some of the other programs that are already established, versus having another application process like ISIP be created, and it'd be, in essence, that you have to apply for it. We thought it would be a lot more streamlined if we could utilize some existing programs. But there's been no announcement of any funds coming available. And so the timing is unknown, and the amount would be unknown. But certainly, if funds did come available, and I think the mayor had made reference to it previously as shovel-worthy projects. They used to use the terminology shovel-ready, and now they're using shovel-worthy as the label for some of the projects. So if funding did come available, certainly we'd be in a position to proceed with Portage Road or any other project that we have, i.e. shovel-ready, and provide those funds to that project.
Thank you.
Other comments on the staff report? David, just so that we all know, this is a joint venture. As our partner in this, aware of the situation as far as the pricing is concerned?
Yeah, I've been in constant conversation with the Township of Laurentian Valley. And so after this meeting, I'll let them know the outcome. And they were going to be discussing it at their meeting on June 2nd, so tomorrow.
It's interesting, and I was talking to Lee Perkins at the county. The county is not finding that there's a substantial increase in some of the tenders that they have received so far. Maybe it's just an anomaly on this particular situation, but we'll just have to monitor them closely, because we set budgets, and here we are, and I would have liked to have been able to do Scott and Portage, as everyone probably sitting there watching here today would like to do that too. I think one of the initiatives that I'd heard with any funding that might be available is that they're looking for green projects. And when I look at Scott and Portage, there's a large percentage of that would be infrastructure for sewer, water, excuse me, and storm drains. So that maybe help us if any potential funding is announced. So, but the buzzword is shovel worthy, not shovel ready. But in both cases, we would be ready for that. There's no further comments on that. You see the recommendation, and I need a mover and a seconder to accept the recommendation of PW 11-2020. Councillor Sabran, Councillor Roots. We've had discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. We'll now go on to councillor reports. There's an item on there that I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about, and that's Petawawa Boulevard, or famously known as County Road 51. And I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what's taken place as far as County Road 51 is concerned. As you know, we have been working tirelessly to get funding and to get this particular road up and running since 2007, when we first started to do an environmental assessment on this particular project. And you do have a copy of all of the chronology of this particular situation from 2007. And while it seems like a very long time to go through all of this in order to try and get some funding and to get this particular project in place, we're still going to try. We were turned down, as you know, by the latest round to get funds to do the bridge and 4-laning. What you have in front of you is as I say, a chronology of the entire efforts that were being put in by myself and the County of Renfrew to date. Also, you have there now, and maybe I should just read it to you, not necessarily for your benefit, but perhaps for anyone that's watching here today. This is a resolution that came forward out of the last full committee report for the operations group at the County of Renfrew, which was in the first week of February. Since then, we went into lockdown and we haven't had any committee meetings since then, but nonetheless, it has come forward as a resolution of County Council, which was held just last week. So if I can, I'll read it to you, and then we'll go into another document that you also have a copy of that was sent by the CEO with regards to what this all means. And I think the CEO has captured it very well. So I'll read the resolution. And it says that County Council directs staff to complete a Class A estimate and design for the intersections of County Road 51 at Petawawa Boulevard, County Road 55 at Paquette Road, Menon Road and Festibert Boulevard, and Victoria, Portage and Dorn Road, Mons Road, and that staff be directed to continue with the plan to rehabilitate County Road 51, which is Petawawa Boulevard, in 2021, and County Structure B203 Petawawa River Bridge in 2022, as identified in the Corporation of the County of Renfrew Asset Management Plan, as well as enhancements to traffic light timings at the intersections of County Road 51, Portage Road, Victoria Street, the intersection of Petawawa Boulevard and County Road 26 Dorn, to be completed in the spring of 2020. And further, the County Council approved County Road 51 Petawawa Boulevard to be returned to the County of Renfrew's Asset Management Plan, and that the Asset Management Plan reflect the full cost of the project at $24 million, with corresponding senior government funding provisions also in the amount of $24 million with a 5-year window. So there's a fair amount of background in there, but I have to say thank you to Dan for condensing this into what this all means. So what is actually being said here is that the overall expansion of the Petawawa Boulevard from Dorn, Mons to Paquette remains in place. In other words, 4 traffic lanes, additional pedestrian and cycle infrastructure, and a second 2-lane bridge. Beautification elements under the town's responsibility have not yet fully been conceptualized. What the county is now moving forward with is estimate and design work for the major intersections within the project limits. This work would be completed, would complement, the expansion plans, and could include roundabouts at Petawawa Boulevard, Paquette, Festibert and Menon, Dorn and Mons, and Victoria at Portage. Restricted space at Victoria and Portage likely means consideration of an alternate improvement option. That will be for the consultant to assess. Regardless of any expansion plans, the county intends on pursuing necessary surface and curb repairs and bridge rehabilitation works in 2021. That's what this resolution of County Council actually means. So again, just by way of an extension of that, they are going forward and doing some of the timing of the lights on Petawawa Boulevard. That'll be the 3rd or 4th time that they'll do that. And I think that's important because, as we all know, the volume on that road has magnified somewhat over the years. So they'll be starting that as we speak sometime between now and the end of June. They will also go for a request for proposal for design and engineering, and that will be presented in August. The design and engineering are for those roundabouts that I just explained to you. Those roundabouts will probably come in the range of some $7 million. Approximate estimate of that. So the county will be moving forward sometime in August with $700,000 to do the design and the engineering. That's an approximate cost. It's fair to say that at this point in time, that's an unbudgeted amount with the County of Renfrew. So they'll have to come forward in August, and this will be a discussion at County Council and recommendations from the finance group as to where that money will come from. So there's a complete package there of everything that we've been doing. We've been working very hard on this particular project for a number of years now to get it to where it is. I think it's fair to say that the preferred option is still in place. There was some talk about another alternative bridge across the Petawawa. That is something that I think fair to say that we're not interested in. And I think that has been squashed by the County of Renfrew as well. There will be perhaps some opportunities, and again, the base is working with MTO to have a further exit and entrance into the base along Highway 17, but as yet has not been finalized or approved by MTO and the garrison themselves. So it is moving, and while it was a disappointment certainly to myself and for all of those who have been trying hard to get this in place, when we last talked in 2019, when all the money was being allocated under the Build Up Canada initiative, I was very disappointed. I thought for sure that we'd hit a home run on this one, and I think anyone who was in the room at the time when we talked to the federal government about this were pretty high that we were going to see something happen, but in fact it didn't take place. So we've not given up, obviously, as you can see, and we'll continue to work to get this major road within the County of Renfrew to where it should be, to allow all of the traffic to move back and forth the way it should. We'll continue to work with the garrison because there's no point in taking all of the problems that we've got on the boulevard and moving them to the front gate of the garrison. So the garrison will have to talk to us, and we'll be working with them to try and alleviate the problem once it gets onto the base. So that's where we are at this point in time. And I thought it was an opportune time to talk to you and give you an update as to how this is all still on very much on the books and certainly very much moving forward. Any questions? It's an information item. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a clarification on the roundabouts that the county is doing the study on. If these studies are completed and the county has funding to do these, are they only going to complete these roundabouts if the 4-laning is done? Or would these roundabouts be a separate standalone project that would be done without the 4-laning?
Well, at the moment, this would have to come forward, I guess, as part of the consulting situation, but it is not doing the roundabouts and the 4-laning at this point in time. They're simply taking it and looking at the concept of putting the roundabouts in place conceptually. And I don't want to leave the impression that if we go ahead with this, that the other parts will also go ahead as well. Certainly, there will be a push by myself, and I imagine supported by council, that if we're going to spend $7 million, then there's an opportunity to continue to press to get it 4-laned. But I don't want to leave the impression that if we do get the consultant's report in, that this will be 4-laning as well as the roundabouts. The way it has been presented to me, there's an opportunity to do 2 roundabouts. They may have some challenges trying to fit a roundabout in at Victoria Street, so they're going to have to come up with an alternative type of solution for that one as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Mons. Councillor Mons, unmute. You need to unmute. Still not coming through, Councillor.
Is it coming through now?
There you go. You're live.
There we go.
There you go, Tom.
I realize that the curbs and everything on Petawawa Boulevard are in bad shape and they need to be repaired. And I see where they're going to spend, well, $360,000 to resurface and do curb repairs. Will that have an impact on if we go to 4-lane, or will, I guess the amount of money they're going to spend on curb repairs will be minimal compared to the overall project, I suppose?
Well, certainly it would be foolish to spend that type of money and rip it all up again, Councillor. It will be small in comparison to the overall project. The overall project is $24 million, and the beautification, which is the sidewalks and curbs and et cetera, will be our responsibility. And when I say ours, the town. I would not want to see us spend that type of money and see it ripped up again, because that's just silly waste of taxpayers' money. Further? No one's got any questions? Comments? No? Okay. Thank you. Then we'll receive that for information, please. Or did somebody have their hand up? Councillor McLean. Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's been a definite marathon in moving this road project forward. And I think we should celebrate the quarter inch that the county has taken forward on this.
Well, the county has always been behind us. The problem that we've got is $24 million. And I've said this many, many times when I've made presentations, and I've talked about over 50 presentations that I've made. This is beyond the overall scope at this point in time of the town of Petawawa, because it's not our road. It's beyond the scope of the county of Renfrew in terms of $24 million. We needed financial, and we still do need financial help as far as the federal and senior levels of government, federal and provincial government. That's why I thought this partnership that we had created was ideal. The garrison was certainly involved with it. The town was involved with it. We hoped that the county was involved with it. We hoped the province and the federal government, I think, was behind this, but it was turned down by the province of Ontario. It's unfortunate, but nonetheless, we'll continue to move ahead. Just to put that in perspective, $24 million amortized over, let's just say 10 years, is about nearly $2.9 million a year to discharge that debt. That's a huge amount of money that if the county had to do it on their own. That's why they're so insistent, and they've tried so very, very hard, and will continue to work to get support as far as this is concerned. So we'll continue to work at this, and it is a marathon. I realize that I could go through it all as to how it all evolved from 2007, but I don't think that's necessary. This is the time and place. There's been changes of governments, there have been changes of infrastructure ministers and ministers of transportation. There's been bump ups. There's been all kinds of things that have been thrown into the mix that have delayed this particular process, up to and including different ideas as to how the traffic flow should occur. But I think this is a way forward. It's on the asset management plan. We're going to see some form of engineering. Hopefully we can get it to the point where it's shovel ready and go from there. There's certainly no question there's a need for another 2 lanes across the Petawawa, whether that would be a completely new bridge or whether that would be an addition will come out of some of the design work that is going forward. So if I hear anything, I'll certainly keep council involved or informed on this. Further? Then we'll receive all that for information. Further council reports. Does anyone want to speak to us about anything? It's only been about a week since we've had a last meeting, nothing. Then the confirming bylaw, the bylaw 134420 to be read a first, second, third time and passed. I need a motion, please. Deputy Mayor Service, seconded by Councillor Carmody. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
Bylaw 134420 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its special emergency electronic meeting held on June 1st, 2020. This constitutes first, second, third reading short of bylaw 134420.
Thank you. Then we will go to the last motion, and that's a motion to adjourn. Any motion, please? Councillor McLean, seconded by Councillor Sabran. All in favor? It's passed. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.